coming on to our video lecture series of human reproduction for class 12. Now, what is reproduction? The basics of reproduction was already talked about in the chapter on reproduction in organisms. Now, today we will talk in particular about reproduction in humans. So first, before going into the entire process of reproduction in humans, we will discuss about the male reproductive system and female reproductive system. So to start with the male reproductive system, what it is made up of, what are its functions and its location. So here we have the figure of the male reproductive system. Now, in the male reproductive system, mainly it is made up of a pair of testes. So here these are a pair of testes which are located outside the abdominal cavity. They are located on the front side below the abdomen, outer to the abdomen, a pair of testes. Then other than that, they are these testes, the pair of each of the testes, they are connected with some ducts. Those are known as accessory ducts. They are retrotestis, vasa efferentia, epididymis and vas deferens. We will talk about them again. So here the testis, it leads into the retrotestis, which further moves forward to form the vasa efferentia, then the epididymis, the main epididymis, then the vasa deferentia or vas deferens, which finally leads into the glands, the structures which will contain the glands, and then we have the accessory glands. So here these ducts, they will lead into the glands. The glands are mainly the seminal vesicle. Here you can see this is the seminal vesicle. This part is usually located in the lower abdomen. So here this part is usually in the lower abdomen. This upper part and this lower part is outside the abdomen. So here seminal vesicles, prostate glands and bulbourethral glands. So these are the prostate glands and bulbourethral glands. They have different secretions that help in reproduction. Then external genitalia. The external genitalia here for the ejection or release of the male gametes. Testis. Now the testis, this is the figure of one single testis. So what does a testis contain? First, location. As I was already telling you, it's located outside the abdominal cavity in a sac, in a bag-like structure called as scrotum. Now why is it so? Why is it located outside the abdomen in a specialized bag called scrotum? Because testis is the organ or the structure that will form the gametes. That will form the gametes for the formation of the zygote or the future individual. Now, formation of gametes or male sperms is possible only at a temperature slightly lower than the body temperature. So, if it was located inside the body, temperature it would have got is 37 degrees, which is not optimum, which is not congenial for the formation of the sperms. So, that is why the testis is located outside the abdomen, where the temperature usually is slightly lower than the body temperature, around 2 degrees less than the body temperature, which is very much optimum for the formation of sperms. So that is why the testis is located outside the abdomen in a bag called scrotum. Its dimensions 4.5 cm in length and 2 to 3 cm in width. This is the average size. Each testis is divided into 250 compartments called testicular lobules. So here you can see these are the lobules. Okay, each of them, they are divided into chambers, compartments. Those compartments are called as testicular lobules. So here of course only a few have been shown, okay, but they are divided into 250 each of them. So total 2 testes, it will be 500 such compartments are located inside the testis. Now each lobule, each compartment contains a long tubular, highly coiled structure called as seminiferous tubule. Okay, it contains the seminiferous tubules. Inside these seminiferous tubules, there is formation of the sperms. So each lobule will have 1 to 3 seminiferous tubule. On an average, 2 each of the lobule will be containing. Seminiferous tubules, they open into vas efferentia through the retrotestis. So each of the seminiferous tubules, what happened, you can see here, they are leading. Okay, they are opening into some structure. This structure is the retrotestis, where all the seminiferous tubules, they join and they get interconnected. They get interconnected, and that is called as retrotestis. The retrotestis will further, they will join. Okay, they will join. Okay, so the number will reduce now. The number of tubes will reduce now. That is called as vasa efferentia. So that will lead into the vasa efferentia. So vasa efferentia will also move ahead, and then they will lead into the epididymis. So what will happen here? Epididymis. Now further they collapse. Few of the vasa efferentia, they will collapse together. They will join together to form a common tube. So finally what will happen? All of them will collapse together to form one common tube called as epididymis. Okay. Then epididymis will continue. Okay. It will continue as the vas deferens. So epididymis, till the time it is near the testis, it is called as epididymis, after which it will lead into the external genitalia through the vas deferens. It will be called as the vas deferens. So this is the continuation, or starting from many tiny tubes. So here, so each testicular lobule contains 1 to 3. On an average, if we say take 2 seminiferous tubules, each lobules, how many are there? 250. So 250 into 2, 500. So 500 seminiferous tubules, they will lead into the retrotestis. They collapse, few of them. The tubes will reduce. Further they will collapse, it will reduce, and so ultimately what will happen? All of them will collapse together, will join together to form a common tube to called as epididymis, that leads to form the vas deferens. Vas deferens will join the urethra. Urethra, if you can recall, that it is a part of the excretory system or urinary system. Urethra to open into the external genitalia, the common opening for both excretory and reproductive system. Now the glands. The glands are, one is prostrate gland. The secretions nourishes and activates the sperms. That is the function. That is prostrate gland. You can see here, this is the prostrate gland. Okay, it activates, keeps the sperms active. Seminal vesicles. So these are the seminal vesicles. It releases mucus and fructose, which will provide energy to the sperm. To provide energy to the sperm, that is the fructose, these are glucose, these are carbohydrate, which will provide energy to them. Then bulbourethral glands, which releases mucus to lubricate the penis. Lubricate the penis so that there is easy ejaculation of the sperms. Then the secretions of all of these, the secretion of prostrate, seminal vesicle and bulbourethral together is known as seminal plasma. All of them will mix together to form a fluid that is called as seminal plasma. Then seminiferous tubule. Now where is seminiferous tubule located? So this is the testis, the testicular lobule. Inside each of them is located the seminiferous tubule. So this is the structure, the internal structure of the testicular lobules. Okay, this is the internal structure of a testicular lobule. So each testicular lobule, so there are will have 1 to 3 seminiferous tubule. This is the seminiferous tubule. The yellow part is the intercellular or space. Okay, it is the space in between the seminiferous tubules. This space, it contains a specialized cell called Leydig cell. It contains the Leydig cell, and the seminiferous tubules, they contain mainly 2 types of cells, that is male germ cell and the Sertoli cell. So inside the seminiferous tubule you have the spermatogonia, that is the male germ cell, and Sertoli cells, 2 types. Male germ cells are the ones okay, which are also the meiocytes. That means they have the ability to undergo meiosis, reduction division, and form the male gametes. We humans, we have 46 number of chromosomes, but the gametes, they will always have half the number, that is 23 number of chromosome. So only these spermatogonia have the ability in males to undergo meiosis and reduce the chromosome number in the resulting daughter cells, and those resulting daughter cells will become the male gametes or the sperms. The second type, that is Sertoli cell, which is present inside the seminiferous tubules, will provide nourishment to these developing male gametes. Okay, will provide nourishment to the spermatogonia, which will be forming the male gametes. So main function is nourishment. Then this intercellular spaces, as I told you, interstitial spaces, they are filled with Leydig cell and some immune cells to provide protection to the system. Leydig cell function is to secrete androgen, the male hormone, which will direct the formation of spermatogonia, the development of spermatogonia to form the male gametes. Okay, it will be directed by the release of androgens by the Leydig cells. So here we have an enlarged view again. So these are the spermatogonia. Okay, these are the spermatogonia, and this brownish color, this is the Sertoli cell. Spermatogonia, they are dividing. So spermatogonia, every time they evolve or they are formed from the inner surface, okay, from the surface of the seminiferous tubules. So new ones, they keep on emerging. Then as they move towards the center, okay, as they move towards the center, they have started with the divisions. So once the division is completed, they are mainly located in the central region of the seminiferous tubule. Seminiferous tubule, otherwise the central region, is hollow. Its core is hollow. So here the developed or the divided male gametes, which have already matured, they usually remain towards the center. The ones which have not yet divided, spermatogonia, they are towards the inner surface, and Sertoli cells will be providing nourishment to these developing sperms. Now coming to the human female reproductive system. The female reproductive system is located within the lower abdomen. It is located within the lower abdomen. It is mainly made up of a pair of testes, okay, pair of testes located on either side of the pelvic girdle. Then a pair of oviducts, okay, pair of oviducts, which are tube-like structures, also known as fallopian tubes, which leads into the common uterus. These are the three main parts that are involved in the reproduction process. Besides that, of course, it has the cervix, okay, which is the opening of the uterus, a thin narrow passage in the uterus, which leads to the external genitalia, that is the vagina. It leads to the external genitalia. So these are the main parts of the human female reproductive system. Also, there is presence of mammary glands. These are secondary features. Mammary glands, it is not present within this reproductive system but located in the chest region. Then coming to ovary. So this is the structure, external structure of ovary, one single ovary that is shown here, which is connected to the oviduct with the help of some finger-like structures called as fimbriae. Then the ovary is supported by ligaments. Yeah, these are the ligaments. It is supported by the ligaments. Now location, lower abdomen, size 2 to 4 centimeter. Then the outer region is known as stroma. This outer region is called as stroma, outer peripheral cortex, and the inner medulla. Middle region, it has blood vessels and connective tissue, the central region. So the outer region is known as stroma, which is again made up of cortex and medulla. Then the middle region, it has blood vessels and lot of connective tissues. So that is ovary. What is the function of ovary? The function of ovary is formation of the ovum or the female gametes. The cells within it undergo meiosis and they form the female gamete or the eggs. Then the oviduct or the fallopian tube. So the oviduct or fallopian tube. So here this is a diagrammatic view. The ovary, which is actually connected to the ovary, but here it has been shown separately. They have finger-like projections called fimbriae, and the entire oviduct is divided into these three parts. Size 10 to 12 centimeter in length on sides of the uterus. So there are two. So here one, and the other side is the uterus. On the other side also there will be the second fallopian tube. It is divided into three parts: infundibulum, ampulla and isthmus. Beginning part infundibulum, ampulla and then isthmus, which joins with the uterus. Finger-like projections, as I already mentioned, is a fimbriae, which helps in catching or capturing the egg whenever it is released, the female gamete whenever it is released from the ovary. The function to collect, so collect the ovum. Ovum will be formed inside the ovary. Ovum will be released, captured by the fimbriae to be transported through the fallopian tube, okay, and also fertilization. It also helps in fertilization. Ampulla isthmus junction, around this region the egg remains, and on deposition of the male gamete, if fertilization takes place, it will be here. So it's the site of fertilization. These are the three main functions: collection, transportation and fertilization. Three functions of the fallopian tube. So here is the oviduct. Again the same thing. This is the ovary. So the eggs they develop, okay, the eggs they develop here, okay, the egg is developing here inside the ovary. The egg is released into the fimbriae, okay, into the fimbriae. Ovulation we call it as. So also it is known as oocyte, and so it travels now, it is transported, and then fertilization takes place here. This is the fertilization. If fertilization, the male sperms they reach, they fertilize, and then the developing zygote, this will call a zygote. Now the zygote will gradually move towards the uterus through the fallopian tube, and within the uterus the future individual will start developing. That is the function of the oviduct. Uterus. Now the uterus is the bag-like structure, tiny structure located in the central part of the lower abdomen. On either side, as we have been talking about, is located the testis and the oviduct. So what is it? It is single, one only, hollow, muscular, attached to the pelvic wall between urinary bladder and rectum. So it is attached to the pelvic wall, that is within the pelvic girdle the uterus is located between the urinary bladder and the rectum. Urinary bladder, that is which stores the urine that is formed by the excretory system, and rectum, that is which stores the digested or the undigested food particles. Its size 7.6 cm in length and 4.5 cm in width, side to side, okay, when there it's a normal size, it's a normal size, and then when it is not expanded. Whenever there is pregnancy, the young one is developing inside the uterus, then it will expand. It is highly elastic. The upper part is known as fundus. Lower part is called as cervix. Okay, so upper part is fundus and cervix, which leads into the cervical canal. It is a opening here. Upper part, the opening is through the fallopian tubes, and lower part single opening through the cervical canal, also known as birth canal. Then it is made up of three layers: perimetrium, myometrium and endometrium. Perimetrium, the outermost layer, mainly protection. Myometrium, which is highly muscular, and it helps in contractions that are required during delivery of the baby. When the baby will be fully formed within the uterus, it needs to be delivered through the cervical canal, and some contractions take place within the uterus. Those contractions are actually carried out by the myometrium. Endometrium is richly supplied with blood vessels, and when pregnancy takes place, then it is responsible for providing nutrition to the developing fetus. So the functions here, cyclic changes during menstrual cycle. We call it as the menstrual cycle, the entire process of reproduction or the events that will take place prior to reproduction or whenever new one will not be formed, but the release of egg and all the events that follow, that is known as menstrual cycle. So the cyclic changes, it's carried out by the uterus. Then embryo is nourished and protected, as I told you, contractions during parturition or delivery. So these are the main functions of the uterus. And hormones that are released in the human female reproductive system is mainly estrogen and progesterone, that is released within the ovary. Within the ovary at different stages, these two hormones are released and they are responsible for all the reproductive activities that will take place in the female. So that was about the male and female reproductive system. The next lecture will be discussed, we will be discussing gametogenesis or formation of male and female gametes.